Bucky is at his worst right here.
Your work has been a gift to mankind. You shaped the century.
The only time he's awake, he's killing people.
I just went from one fight to another for 90 years.
He still feels like he's under the programming. He doesn't feel fully like himself yet.
The guilt that he carries over what he's done, he shares with Hydra, but at the end of the day, the only person you can rely on to make it right is yourself.
Mental health is not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Therapy. I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies. This is
Alan Seawright, a professional filmmaker who needs therapy. Why are we whispering?
because your name inspires reverence.
Weird and false.
No, mostly I feel the same way about you as I feel about Sizzler, which is cheap but oddly satisfying.
Sizzler.
So today we're doing a psychology of a hero on Bucky Barnes.
James Buchanan Buckminster Fuller Barnes.
The Winter Soldier. We're going to be taking a look at finding yourself after you've been used, abused, and traumatized, and you just feel lost. This is a lot of what I do in therapy. We're going to get deep, but we're also going to have a lot of fun. So let's do this.
You just don't know when to give up, do you?
I can do this all day.
The effects still hold up.
I am in awe of the Skinny Steve effects. It's so good.
Own size.
In fairness, that guy threw a big haymaker. He had that coming.
Sometimes
Sure
I
did.
think you like getting punched. I had him on the
Doing
road.
good there, Buck.
How many times is this?
Everybody loves a man in uniform.
Oh, you're from Paramus now. You know it's illegal to lie on the enlistment form. And seriously, Jersey. You get your orders?
The 107th, Sergeant James Barnes, shipping out for England first thing tomorrow.
I should be going. Come on, man. Why last night? Gotta get you cleaned up. Why? Where we going? Future.
So loving this scene because this is who Bucky is. You know, not a lot to therapize yet here, not a lot to explore as far as giving him treatment because he's in a really good place. But it's essential that we see this because we're going to see him spiral into a shell of himself and then work his way back. And it's a really inspiring journey. But he is a loyal friend. He's devoted. And even though he's bigger and stronger than Steve, he's not too cool for school. You know, he's like, yeah, this guy's scrawny, gets his ass kicked all the time. I love the hell out of him.
He's my best friend.
He's my best friend.
Yep.
And Bucky is a good man.
See? I told you. They were all idiots. How about you? You ready to follow Captain America into the jaws of death?
Hell no. That little guy from Brooklyn, I was too dumb not to run away from a fight. I'm following him.
Just this line of, I'm not following Captain America. Everybody else is impressed with this monstrosity of a physical specimen who's got super strength and super speed. And Bucky's just, he would have followed Steve if Steve was still just little Steve.
Yeah.
Because he, just like Stanley Tucci's character, they see the person inside, and that's what inspires them. And it's not like Steve needs help staying humble because he's Steve, but if he did, Bucky would definitely do it.
Yep.
So, of course, a good bromance can't last forever, at least on screen. Here it can. Because Bucky falls to his supposed death, but actually ends up in the hands of Hydra, who turn him into their own freakish Frankenstein version of a super soldier and completely deprogram him.
Whew. Bucky really needed a good therapist to help him work through all of his trauma.
Well, he did get one later, and she helped him out a lot, but he could have used better help to find her sooner.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give helpful, unbiased advice.
To get started, click the link below or go to betterhelp.com/cinematherapy and fill out the questionnaire to assess your specific needs.
You'll get matched with a therapist in most cases in 48 hours or less.
And they're committed to helping you find a therapist who's a good fit for you.
So you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost if the one you are first matched with is not a good fit.
You can choose a time that's convenient for your therapy sessions.
And you can choose how you want to do your therapy sessions: a phone call, video chat, or even via messaging.
BetterHelp has a network of over 30,000 therapists with a wide range of expertise.
Over 4 million people have used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life.
That's a lot of people. If you think you might benefit from therapy, click the link below or go to betterhelp.com/cinematherapy.
You'll get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with the therapist and see if it helps you.
Your work has been a gift to mankind. You shaped the century, and I need you to do it one more time. Society is at a tipping point between order and chaos.
So it's a combination of, they know he's a soldier. They know that's written into him who he is at this point. Even if he loses who he is, he's someone who follows orders, especially if he has a greater good, a cause to
Give
follow.
the world the freedom it deserves.
So it's a combination of, we're fighting for this greater good, you're an essential part of that, you're doing incredible things for the world, and just completely breaking him down psychologically and physically.
Yeah, it's manipulation plus programming.
He's been out of cryo freeze too long.
Then wipe him and start over.
And he's so used to it by now. And I love that we get a little taste of the physical torture, but we don't need to see too much of it because it's all in Sebastian Stan's face.
Yeah.
And one imagines he spent probably a good deal of time fighting and resisting, and it always...
They broke him down. And
He never won that fight, and he was always punished severely for it, so now he's finally just submissive.
yeah.
Now, most of us don't experience this level of identity erasure.
I would argue none of us. This is science fiction.
Well, I mean, there are like prisoners of war in extreme cases
Sure,
of
sure,
things
sure.
like that.
Yeah.
But you can be in an abusive relationship where
Yes.
someone does something very similar to what Hydra does here. This combination of purpose and pain, and you're good and you're valued as long as you're doing what we say.
Yeah.
Right? And there are people watching right now who can relate to this, maybe in a parenting relationship, maybe in a dating or a marriage relationship. This is what it is to be abused. It's the over-the-top science fiction version, but the principles are the same.
That's right.
And you may not lose yourself to the extent that you don't know who you are or you've lost your memories, but those memories can be cast in a different light, and your identity can be cast in a different light. And so in that sense, you do lose who you were or who you would have chosen to be if you had just been left to your own devices.
We looked for you after. My folks want to give you a ride to the cemetery.
I know, I'm sorry. It's kind of wanted to be alone.
How was it?
It's okay. She's next to Dad.
I was gonna ask.
I know what you're gonna say, Buck. I just...
We can put the couch cushions on the floor like when we were kids. It'll be fun. All you gotta do is shine my shoes, maybe take out the trash.
Come on.
Thank you, Buck. But I can get by on my own.
The thing is, you don't have to. I'm with you to the end of the line, pal.
I include this because it's a reminder of the friendship that Steve is fighting for.
Yeah.
He knows his pal is somewhere in there. And if you've ever been a loved one to somebody who has been lost to trauma or abuse, you just want them to come back.
Yeah.
And sometimes that never happens. And sometimes it happens, but it's arduous. This love and devotion that they have for each other is the backbone of all of the Captain America films, and it's beautiful.
Bucky saying, "You don't have to do this alone. I'm with you to the end of the line," obviously is a line that Steve echoes later, but it also is a feeling that Steve echoes later. Like, Steve won't let Bucky, be alone.
You don't have to go through your recovery alone from all that you've been through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bucky,
You known me your whole life.
This is Marvel at its best. The action scenes are filled with story and pathos.
Your name is James Buchanan Barnes. Shut up!
Well, and this is not, your rip-roaring, beat-em-up stuff here.
Yeah.
But even when that's happening in this film,
It's moving the story along, yeah.
yeah, it's moving story and it's building character, all of it. It's really good.
I'm not gonna fight you, you're my friend.
You're my mission.
You know, there's cool, punchy violence in these movies, and then there's this, which is hard to watch.
Because I'm with you to the end of the line.
So how do you help somebody who's been through a trauma? How do you help somebody who has been broken down, told they're worthless, or that their worth is directly tied to their obedience, right? And is directly tied to, if you do what I say, then you're worthwhile, and if not, then you're scum, you're worthless. And that's any number of abusive relationships. You give that person unconditional love.
Yeah.
Bucky is at his worst right here. He's pummeling Steve. This is not him being a lovable bro. For most people, if someone's treating you like this, you're going to fight back, you're going to walk away, you're going to call the police.
Well, this isn't Bucky. This is the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I know.
Until he says that line.
I'm with you to the end of the line, and something awakens, right? Something way back in the back there. Mm-hmm. The point is not that if someone's been hurt and now they're hurting you, that you should just take it. I'm not saying that. In real life, draw boundaries, protect yourself, do what you need to do.
For sure.
What I want to draw attention to is Steve's unconditional love for his friend is such that no matter how his friend is acting, he loves him. And that's how people can start to come back. If you're recovering from trauma, and if you're recovering from abuse, having somebody who is just constant and steady and cares and shows that consistently can help you to start to put yourself back together again.
Whatever it is, I'll deal with it.
I don't know if I'm worth all this, Steve.
What you did all those years, it wasn't you. You didn't have a choice.
I know. But I did it.
Mental health is not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Yeah.
He's saying, I know it wasn't me that did these things. Like, it was stuff that they put into me, but I did it. I have to take responsibility for what was done.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong.
The only person you can rely on to make it right is yourself. Mm-hmm. And speaking of what I was talking about before, surrounding yourself with people who care about you, that's absolutely 100% true. And it would be comforting and probably even the just right, correct thing in the balance of the universe if the people who hurt you were also the people who made it right, because they're the ones who did this in the first place.
Yeah.
Odds are they're not gonna. Or sometimes they come around years or decades after you've already done the work to heal yourself.
Yep.
And then that's a whole different story about reconciliation if you choose that. But in Bucky's case, like you're saying, he knows that if it's going to get better in any way, shape, or form that it can get better, he's going to have to take the lead on that, which he does when he goes to therapy. So, and I love when Tony asks him, do you even remember, speaking of his parents, do you even remember them? And Bucky says, I remember all of them.
One day, you're going to have to open up and understand that some people really do want to help you and that they can be trusted.
I trust people.
Yeah, give me your phone.
So, she's not the most warm, empathic, compassionate therapist.
That may not be what he needs.
But it may not be what he needs.
No, and you've been ignoring the texts from Sam. Look, you've got to nurture friendships. I am the only person you have called all week. That is so sad. You're
Technically, therapists don't have the right to go through someone's phone.
Years old, you have no history, no
Are
family.
you lashing out at me, Doc?
Didn't have to give it to her.
That's true, but I would say it's ethical. It's pushing it.
It's borderline
to even ask
sure.
for it.
Yeah.
All right, give me a break. I'm trying, okay? This is new for me. I didn't have a moment to deal with anything, you know? I had a little calm in Wakanda. And other than that, I just went from one fight to another for 90 years.
But you got your mind back? You are being pardoned? I mean, these are good things. You're free.
Okay,
To do what?
transference in therapy is when a client, whatever they have a feeling towards perhaps a father or a mother or somebody else in their life, that gets spilled over onto the therapist and projected onto the therapist.
Okay.
And Bucky's got transference issues towards his therapist because she's an authority figure, and in the past, authority figures have been Hydra, and they've messed with his mind. And I think on some level, he knows that she's not Hydra, her purposes are different.
Right.
And so there's more of a conscious willingness to engage, but there's also another level of resistance to everything she does. And so
Sure.
everything that happens in therapy is 2 steps forward and a step back. He engages a bit, but he also withdraws, or he hides, or he lies. Because you see Bucky, he's not fully withdrawn from this process, and he's not fully shut down, but he's also not fully engaged. There's this dance of, I want to heal, maybe this will help, but I also don't want to trust because maybe this will hurt.
Well, and I'm not convinced it's going to work.
Yeah.
You're being passive aggressive.
Well, and so your point about his therapist maybe being exactly what he needs. Yeah, she doesn't take any bullshit, and that's all he's shoveling right now. So she
Right.
needs someone who's going to break through this. Not my style of therapy per se, but effective in this case.
These scenes in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought were really, really well written. The dialogue feels natural, but just smart enough to be interesting. And I love the way the scene ends. You're free now. And he says, to do what?
Yeah.
I don't know who Bucky is.
Yeah.
What does a Bucky do?
Are you close with your parents?
I was. They passed away. D5.
I'm sorry. Miss. I think it's really sweet you're spending time with Yori. It's been hard for him since his son died. I think not knowing how it happened is the hardest part for him. It really messed him up. You know how we call a guy whose wife died a widower? Or if your parents die, you're an orphan. No, there's no word for someone whose kids die. Because it's like the worst thing that can happen.
Excuse me.
You good?
I mean, how could she know that she was talking to the guy who made that happen?
Right. And also another scene with great dialogue, like pointing out that we don't have a word in English for that.
Yeah.
That is a great thing to, have an interesting bit of dialogue, and also the fact that it is digging at this emotional wound in Bucky, like that's just solid writing.
Something that we don't talk about a lot when it comes to abuse and trauma. We often think of the things that people go through because another person is mistreating them. What we don't talk about a lot is the things that that person does as a result of the pressure or the terror or the pain or the manipulation. When Bucky says, I know that it wasn't my fault, but I still did it. A lot of times in cases of abuse and trauma, the abuser is highly invested in breaking down and changing the person before them, the victim. It's about breaking them down and recreating them into something else. And that's devastating. Sometimes that could be even more devastating than the actual abuse or the actual horrific things that happen, is the sense of, this is who I was, and this is now who I am. Are you close to your parents? I was. We see Bucky at the beginning of his whole arc. He's a really well-adjusted, loving, decent, courageous person of integrity. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And part of the reason he is that is because he had a really solid foundation, and that's been ripped out. And the guilt that he carries over what he's done, he shares with Hydra, but at the end of the day, like you're saying, he's the one who has to make it right, and it's too painful, too scary to go there.
You gotta stop looking to other people to tell you who you are.
Great advice.
Let me ask you. You still having those nightmares?
All the time. Means I remember. Means a part of me is still there. Which means a part of the Winter Soldier's still in me.
You up for a little tough love?
I love that you get the consent first.
Do the work. Do it.
I've been making amends.
You weren't amending, you were avenging. You were stopping all the wrongdoers you enabled as the Winter Soldier. Because you thought it would bring you closure. You go to these people and say sorry. Because you think it'll make you feel better. Right? But you gotta make them feel better. You gotta go to them and be of service. I'm sure there's at least one person in that book who needs closure about something, and you're the only person who can give it to them.
And this is why Sam gets to be Captain America.
Start with one.
That's a great point.
Good talk.
But I love that advice. First of all, you weren't amending, you were avenging. You were, you were setting things right, which, don't get me wrong, I actually do think Bucky should be doing that. I think him
Absolutely.
going around and...
It's part of it, for sure.
Yeah, it's part of it. What can I do to serve justice and to keep other people from being hurt? And that can be a really scary part of, do I testify against an abuser, or do I, what do I do?
Yeah.
And that varies from case to case, and you have to keep yourself safe while doing so. But then there's the people that I've hurt. It can be hard as the person who was traumatized to recognize and acknowledge, I took that and then I hurt others. Because you may already feel broken down from what your abuser did to you, and now you feel guilt or shame for what you did to other people. And this series actually has really strong writing about how to work your way through something like that. You're not apologizing or amending to make yourself feel better. You're doing it to make them feel better, which in turn actually does help you to feel better.
Yeah, it does.
But it's not just about a token, I'm sorry. How can you be of service? How can you lighten their load? Maybe you can't fix things. Maybe you can never set it right, but you could do something good today. And when we do good, that's what Abraham Lincoln said, right? When I do good, I feel good. That's my religion. And I think that is so vital for finding yourself again and creating yourself from the ground up so that your abuser doesn't have final power over you. The best revenge is happiness. The best revenge is to say, my life isn't dictated by what you did to me. I'm going to choose who I'm going to be. I'm going to choose how I'm going to live. And you couldn't take that power from me. Now he's going to go talk to this old man whose son he killed. It's very similar to a moment in The Bourne Supremacy that I really like.
Yeah.
Where Jason Bourne, it's like, I can't make this better, but I can at least provide closure.
What are you doing here? It's late. Come in before someone call the cops. What are you doing here? It's not Wednesday.
I have to tell you something. About your son. He was murdered.
What?
By the Winter Soldier. And that was me.
Why?
I didn't have a choice.
Nothing gets me more than when an actor is trying to say something and they can't get it out because they're choked up.
Yeah.
Obviously, this happens to me on the show all the time. I'm not acting. I'm just feeling the feelings that they're telling me to feel, because movies are manipulation and it's all lies. It's fine. But
it's lying adjacent.
It's lying adjacent.
Storytelling is lying adjacent, and I lie for a living.
Sebastian Stan making that choice and then getting to that place emotionally where he's so choked up that he almost can't say the words, like I'm doing right now, is, for whatever reason, that personally gets me every single time more than anything else.
Yeah.
The same way there's that trope, the hero who has a conscience and hates that he has a conscience.
Yeah.
For me, someone trying to say something and it's hard and they're choked up and they're having difficulty forcing the words out, just does this.
Something that's really powerful about this scene, speaking of the wording and how it's written, is your son was murdered by the Winter Soldier, and that was me. And in the previous scene with Sam, he talks about his fear that the Winter Soldier is
still in me.
Is still in there.
Yeah.
And just by taking this step of accountability, obviously, but also providing closure and service for somebody else, he is saying to himself, the Winter Soldier's not in there anymore. Because this is what Bucky Barnes would do. The Bucky Barnes from the 1940s who stood by his friend, who didn't care that Steve was scrawny, who didn't care that Steve was strong, who just cared about his friend. That Bucky Barnes just did the right thing.
Yeah.
And for the first time in 90 years, he's just doing the right thing without being told what to do, without being commanded, without actually causing harm. He's stepping back in this scene to who he was way back when. And that's why he says, the Winter Soldier was me. If you've been through a trauma, if you've been abused, whoever they told you that you were or that you had to be to have worth, however they treated you, and whatever you did under the influence of a manipulator or someone who terrorized you, that's not who you are. And just like Bucky, even if it's their fault, you still have to be responsible for your healing and responsible for cleaning up the mess, because odds are they're not going to. But in doing that, you can find yourself again and find your peace. And that's the power of the story.
Yeah. As a person who has experienced this, the most powerful thing that can happen to you is doing the work and being able to say, that was me.
Yeah. I have a friend, she says, you're under no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. And at any point in time, we can pivot and become something else, and that's powerful.
Every passing minute is another chance to turn it all around.
So until next time.
You couldn't have done that before?
I hate you. And watch movies. And series. And anything with Sebastian Stan.
Just the MCU, Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. Listen, folks, if you stan Sebastian Stan like we do, then you're going to want to check out the Director's Cut exclusive commercial-free on our Patreon right now.
It's a long one. And this episode was actually chosen by our patrons. That's right. If you join our Patreon, you can tell us what to do. Sometimes.
Yeah, you get to pick episodes. Folks like
Patricia Green,
Annalisa Van,
Catherine Anderson,
Red Mafia Panda, which is suddenly a series that I want to watch.
Like, that's a video game I want to play. Okay, and Drachovzal Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm really glad you got that one. Thank you all. Check out our Patreon.
You couldn't have done that earlier?
I hate you.